welcome everyone to the School Turnaround Podcast. I'm excited for today's guest with Dr. James Kador, a person I've been knowing for quite a bit of time as well. So I want to first thank you for joining the podcast. I really appreciate you being here today, sir. How are you?
Well, thank you for the invite. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Of course, we ran into a few technical difficulties, but we finally made it through. I appreciate the
Good.
invite.
Good. Well, I'm so glad to have you here. So the whole purpose of the School Turnaround Podcast is really to talk about the great work that's going on in schools and the great work that people are doing like yourself, and really for our audience providing solutions that are being done around the country as it relates to school turnaround. So before we dive into that for today, if you can just introduce yourself to the viewing audience a little bit about your journey to your current role, and then explain for our listening audience what your role is and where you're located.
Yes, I'm located now in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at one of our local schools. It's considered kind of hard to kind of describe because it's a middle school, high school. But let me back up a little bit. I started off teaching here in Baton Rouge at high school science, 10th grade. From there, went on to get my master's degree from Southern University, continued in education, kind of moved on from there, still teaching at the time, considering going into administration, with following people like yourself and Dr. Trahan encouraging me to go on to pursue a higher level degree. I went on to Colorado State University to pursue PhD there. And under your tutelage and help me out there and as my advisor and kind of mentor, as you will. I do appreciate that as well to kind of get me through that. Being out there for a while there, I was teaching graduate courses there. Once I was done with my program, I was a cultural center director there. Running through some issues at home. I'm only child. My mom had ovarian cancer, and that forced me to kind of make a decision to come back to Louisiana from Colorado here. So, and since then, I've been in administration, been in administration in elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. Now I'm at a combination school. It's considered an alternative setting because it's middle school, high school, and it's for students who are 2 years behind or considered overage in the grade that you're in. So it's kind of a combination school, if you will. And so that's where I am now, currently here. I taught adjunct at Southern University for a stint and also at Xavier University. But now I'm here, and this is my first year under this program. I was here before as an assistant principal here, but now I'm back here at this particular site. It's called Northdale Academy in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and it's definitely it's a needed program because we ran into a lot of issues throughout time where students were behind, and it varies from different situations from students, either from pregnancy, incarceration for students, students who are transient, meaning homeless, those kind of things. So that caused this as a need for this particular institution. So that's where I am now, and I'm kind of excited about the program.
Great. And thank you for that, because that's a pretty unique situation that we see some versions of that around the country, but I think the middle school, high school model for students that are behind academically in the grades. So just to clarify, your role at the school now is what?
I'm a school principal here, school leader. Kind of, I have like 127 students. About 27 teachers, and it's definitely a needed program. So I am the principal, the leader of this particular institution site.
Great. And I want to get that out there for the listening audience so they could know your role. So
yes, sir.
When we dive into solutions, they know what seat you're sitting in. So let's talk a little bit about the school, because I know your heart for education and how you want to benefit the students. So one thing I do know that school turnaround work and working with students is real. It's hard work, right? So give our listening audience a little background when you stepped into the principal seat, right? What were some of the immediate challenges before we get into the great things that you're doing now?
Well, in education, and especially in leadership in education, what I did figure out is that as an assistant principal, you pretty much you find yourself doing a lot of the detail work, but the decision making always come from the principal position. And
Right.
until I got to this role, then that's one of those hidden things because a lot of the underlying issues it stops and starts there. Although
Hmm.
the system principal they carry the load and try to do all the the busy work if you will and to kind of
Right.
keep the things successful. But when I got to the role of principal in this particular setting, I found myself making some serious tough decisions on students to accept, students that we're going to deny from being a part of the program, and it
Sure.
varies. And that's employment of good employees, as in teachers and faculty and staff. It's hard to keep good staff, especially in this type of environment, because it's a tough, it's a rough environment. It's not for the if you faint at heart and you don't have a passion for it, you're not going to last. And so education is tough in this society because it's hard to get good professionals that want to have the same passion and drive. But that's what I have to
Right.
figure out on this level, meaning that you want to be stern, but you can't be so stern that you're driving people away, and you can't be that tough on them because I
Sure.
find myself definitely being tough on some of my teachers because I know what I want and expect, and the students and the families deserve that as well. But it's hard. So
Yeah.
I find myself making tough decisions as it relates to students and them attending school, trying to encourage our parents and to find ways because that's one of our big issues right now,
Right.
attendance. If we can get students to come to school, and a lot of times those are major issues that cause students to be in the situation they're in now, being 2 years behind, being overage in a certain uh, level. And so with our teachers, I found myself going back to be successful on this level. I have to go find those veteran teachers, those teachers that either retired that want to come back and help us out. Some of our young teachers, I had a few this year starting off, and the age gap is like it's kind of close, and
Yeah.
so the
Close.
students feel
Hmm.
like they can take advantage of that. And some of our veteran teachers, not saying the young teacher can't get it done, but I find myself with some of those veteran teachers that are no nonsense. They're gonna go and fight that extra battle for you. And so I lost a few teachers this year that they were very young. They realized earlier in this profession that this is was not for them. So that's the key, trying to encourage and keep good professionals in this career. So
Good.
it's
Good.
tough.
Good, good. And when you laid that out, I mean, you kind of had some ideas as principal based on your previous experience of what you were walking into, right?
Yes, sir.
And you knew the context of the school, so you knew the purpose of the school, so you had some ideas of what you would face. So tell us a little bit before we get into these solutions. Give us an example of something unexpected that you had to face because many people have aspirations of leading school turnaround and they know about the expected, but they're not always ready for the unexpected. So what was something unexpected that you had to deal with in the seat that you weren't necessarily prepared for, but you just had to do the best you could to deal with it?
Well, that's a great question. I think two things came to mind, two individual situations. It was a student. He started off as a freshman student, ended up getting incarcerated, going to juvenile for at least 3 years. He ended up getting out of juvenile detention in that particular setting, coming back to school. But in his mind, he thought that he should have been a junior because he's been out 3 years. I should be a junior now. But now
Hmm.
understanding that how school works, you have to matriculate and have take courses, pass those, and move on. So he comes
Right.
back now. He's a freshman still, but he left 3 years ago. He gets back. We try to explain this to him. You're not a junior. You can't. But I took courses while I was in the setup. I said, I understand that, but you're
Sure.
here now, and you got to start from where you stopped, and those credits has to carry on. So in his
Right.
mind, he was so defeated, and at that point on, he quit school, and never came back. And that was the last I've
Yeah.
seen of that particular student.
Right.
Another student, she was at a home at her home. She was the older sibling of all her siblings. Mom was incarcerated for attempted murder. So now she's the person at home. So now she found herself having to work a full time job. She's already behind in our setting, in our mind. So we had to make home visits to find out why she wasn't coming to school. So now to come
Right.
to find out, she had to work a full-time job to take care of her siblings, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a tough pill for us to swallow because we know she was very close. She's a senior, very close
Right.
to finishing, but now she has the responsibility that she assumed from her mother's, untimely incarceration. So that caused her to be the breadwinner and also the head of the house. So I couldn't fault her for that. So now we got to
Right.
find some other type of ways for her to finish while she's going to work. So those are some
Yeah.
of the things the challenges that we ran into. I had
And
one of my teachers.
none of that is in your job description,
No,
right?
sir. No, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
based on that, I mean, because I know you probably have so many stories like that you can share. So what I want to do, I want to tap in for a minute, if I could, into your expertise, because I know you have a lot of expertise. In my hometown there of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We have a lot of school leaders that look in, and other educators, stakeholders that look in at this podcast, looking for solutions. So let's talk solutions for a minute. So, based on your experience, what advice would you give to school leaders who are thinking about working in low performing schools and leading school turnaround efforts? What would be your advice to them to consider if they're going to take on a role similar to what you're doing now?
If you're unfamiliar with this type of environment, I would first start off with just doing research on finding what are some of the success stories in those type of environments, and also tap into resources. That's what I had to do. I had to kind of figure out other programs that were similar to this one, what made it work, what kind of things that they were doing that they were successful at, and on this environment, you have to have town hall meetings with your parents and also your students separate,
Hmm.
because your parents are going to have total different expectations than the students. And then once you bring them together, I would start off with that. I would definitely start off with meeting with your parents, find out what they expect from you, and then the things that you have to offer. And also with your students, you have to be hard and frank with those students and let them know up front when you first take on this responsibility, because they're thinking that you can work miracles, and your job now is to get me out, and you're going to graduate me. And that's what I want you to do. But we can't
Hmm.
do it without the help. It's a two-way street, meaning the parents have to help you get your children or the students here. The students have to want to come here, so you got to make school fun. You got to make it a learning environment. It has to be a healthy environment, and it's a give and take. So, and at the end of the day, they still students, and regardless of what level they're on, I have a lot of overage students here, and at the end of the day, they want to be students. So, and we got to
So,
kind of give them that they need.
yeah, I mean, you gave us a lot there, a lot of wisdom there, and you talked about two distinct stakeholders: the students and the parents. So let's break that down for a minute, right? So as potential recommendations for people thinking about taking on this role, and if they are looking to join a school that is similar to yours, whether they're serving students who are behind grade level, maybe older than the normal age for the grade level. So what are your specific strategies that you would recommend a aspiring school leader use to deal with specifically students that are older than what we would normally see in those grade levels?
And it's all according to how large your school is. If you have a small school, a small setting like I have 127 students. That's middle and high school.
Yeah.
I would set up a time schedule, like a office hour time. We would meet with each individual student if you could. Learn that student. I don't care if it's a nickname, I don't care if it's a background. Find out what they want or what their
Mm-hmm.
expectations are. And then if you
Mm-hmm.
talk to each individual student, that's where the success comes in at. Because if they figure you know them, they're going to do all they can to make sure that you are very impressed with what they can offer. Because I have so many students with so many different talents, but because we don't tap into them all the time or know who they are, they just feel like you don't care about me. So as a new
Mm-hmm.
leader, I would always start with having interviews, and then consistently do that on a regular basis. Check in with them. The teachers are always
Right.
going to know the students because they see them all the time. But as the school leader, you're going to see faces. You're going to see them all the time, but you need to know who they are, and because they're going to know who you are. So I would
Right.
definitely make a plan throughout the school year. If it's on a Friday or a Monday or whatever day of the week that you choose, make that a student day. You have those students come in, and that way you can have it. That way throughout the year, eventually you can know each and every one of your students, and that's how you be successful as in for your students, because they're going to know you know them on a personal level. And I would say learn as much as you can about them. Find out what their goals are. What are you going to do once you graduate?
Sure.
What do you expect from us here at this particular school, and what are you going to do to help us help you? So you have to have those kind of conversations. If you don't, then they're going to feel you don't care, and that's what causes a lot of students to drop out or feel like you don't care, and they go find other means to either supplement their time, meaning that they're going to go run the streets, they're going to find
Hmm.
friends, associates, join gangs, do those type of things to get that friendship or that wanting that they need or requested.
Right, right, and that's great. I mean, those one-on-one meetings, so you could build that personal connection with them. Now, you talked about parents, right? So I know that you have to have specific strategies for parents because you have some students, parents are involved in their lives, some are not. So walk us through recommendations for aspiring leaders of how they should navigate that.
Well, with parents, it's kind of iffy with parents because sometimes you have parents that are distant parents. You have some guardians that they are not their biological parents. So what you have to do is you have to find out as much as you can about those family members, and it's all according to how you address them as well. Because I always say the parent or guardian. You have to add those in there because sometimes
Yeah,
it's an adopted family, it's a
sure.
relative that stands, a cousin, a nephew, a niece, and those kind of things. We have a lot of situations that goes on. So I would do it. I would have operate a parent meeting room, have a room just for
Hmm.
parents. When they come to the campus, if it's a computer in there, or if you have bilingual parents, have a meeting room in there and have all the information that you know that the parents will need. And whenever
Hmm.
they want to come to the campus to even visit or to just know what's going on, keep that room available for those parents. Also set time aside, well, like I mentioned earlier about town hall meetings, have at
Hmm.
least two. So in the fall or the spring, have two town hall meetings just for parents. And that way parents can get all the questions they want, all the answers they want, and set them up twice. So I would have one in the morning and one in the evening for those parents who work in the morning and some of those parents who work in the evenings. So I would have two on whatever day we agree on to have those town hall meetings. We call them town halls because we want to leave it as an open forum. And then you have one in the spring, and that one's
Hmm.
open as well for two separate times, so parents can come and make it. And if they can't make it, also open it up because every Sunday I send out a call out and I send an email to my faculty with information that's going for that current week that's going on. Parents love that, so that way you keep them focused on what's going on. So every Sunday evening at 5 o'clock, 1700 if you're military, at
Right.
5 o'clock I send a message out. And of course, the parents they don't complain because now they get a chance to stay connected. They know what's going on for that coming up week. And then on the email, I send the email with the same information I send to the parents, but that goes to my faculty, so they'll know what I'm sending to parents. If it's
Got it.
report cards, if it's progress reports, or if it's some type of meeting that's going on, or if it's graduation or some other kind of meeting that we have, the parents can stay connected and they know on Sunday I'm expecting a phone call, and for my faculty they're expecting an email, but they get the phone calls as well. So I would say do those things just to keep everybody informed. The more informed they are, the more supportive they are to assist with things that you have at the school.
Got it. And that's great. And so you have a specific strategies of how you work with the students with the individual check-ins, the parents with the constant communication. Let's deal with for a couple of minutes here the staff, the teaching staff, the support staff. Talk about recommendations for aspiring leaders of how you deal with that group. I know professional development is important. So how would you consider an aspiring leader take on specific recommendations to deal with the staff that may be in a school like yours?
Well, it's kind of touchy as well because you have certain teachers that are your go-getters. They're going to
Yeah.
take care of all the extra things that you need testing wise if you have school-wide testing or anything like that. So you got to tap into to teachers based on their skills. You have some
Hmm.
teachers that they only strict and they know this is my subject and this is what I want to teach. So but
Right.
you got to have a little bit of buy-in from all your teachers. And everybody's unique. Everybody has different situations. So I find myself with some of those teachers who I know that's going to get here early, that's going to help out, going to with duty and those kind of things. So I have to find myself being flexible, as in doing flex time, meaning that
Sure.
okay, you get here early. That means I'll so when the bell rings to go home in the evening, I know not to kind of you know to divvy up those teachers that and the people like you get here right at time for school or work. Then in the evening, you got to help us out on the back end of this thing. So you find yourself being a negotiator, if you will, and no, all the teachers are different, you know,
Hmm.
and so with finding teachers that are good fit for your school is totally different, especially a school like this one. This is not a traditional school. This is a
Right.
non-traditional setting. This is a school that when they come in for an interview, the first thing I say is, how are you with getting along with inner city school youth?
Yep.
And once I throw that out, and of course, the average person that's coming to interview, oh yeah, I know about inner city youth, and I know how to navigate with struggling populations of students, and it's tough because I've
Right.
had teachers that come aboard. Now I brought them on, and later to find out that they're struggling because you thinking that every environment is the same. It's totally different. I worked at schools where we have 1,400 students, and it's a multiplex of students. They have different cliques and groups of students from every walk of life. At this particular school, this is strictly inner city. I'm still with minority
Right.
students.
Yeah.
This is non-traditional. So, and they're
Right.
gonna, and things that go on here, we have fights here. We have
Right.
disagreements. We have people that are trying to do things to move on with their life. We have students that want to be successful. So when you have any type of thing that's gonna throw the average teacher off from saying, okay, my thing is I just want to teach. In this type of environment, it's not just about teaching. It's about building relationships.
Yeah.
It's
So
about
much
encouraging
more to
students to
it.
come to school.
Right.
You have students that are pregnant. You have students that are extended family. I even have students here with children already. They have families, have to work. They have a
Right.
student here. He has to come to school. He has a daughter already.
Yeah.
So it's not that kind of regular environment. You have to know our student, know our population of students, and to get those type of teachers, they have to really want to be here. You can't
Good.
just say I'm going to just work and be here. If you're that type of teacher, this might not be the environment for them.
Great, great, and that's great perspective. And so the last question I want to ask you before I let you go on with your day, um, as a school leader, a lot of times we think about legacy, like what can I implement at the school that can live on beyond me? Because we all know we have a finite amount of time at the school, right? So give us one example that a aspiring school leader can think about, that's something that you want to leave as a legacy at that school that you hope to would live on even after your time there.
Well, I would first like to say, you all as a school leader, you always want to build culture. You want to start
Yeah.
with that. Have something that students will know that is a hook every day. And chance you probably can relate to it with Dr. Greggs, is if you're early, you're on
Yeah.
time. If you're on time, you're
Right.
late. Every time
Right.
I see a student, if you're trying to go from one class to the next and you're late all the time, I always try to throw little nuggets of information that it's going to resonate with them. So you
Sure.
find different things that they know that they're going to believe in, that you're going to stay stern on.
Right.
Dressing the part, getting to school on time. The education is going to be there. They're going to learn
Right.
because we're going to navigate that. But
Sure.
these extra things that we know students are gonna know, that if I go to this school, I got to have my uniform on right. I got to come to
Yeah.
school nice. If I have an issue, I have to kind of bring that to someone instead of trying to resolve it on my own. So it's about building culture. Building culture is tough because
Right.
anybody can say, well, I'm trying to build culture, but the culture is the thing that drives the students, and that's also something they're gonna remember down the line. I still remember things when I was in school, in high school, and I remember the alma mater. I remember the school songs. I remember
Right.
the school colors, the different things that make the school school. That's why everybody wants to look back at their yearbook. They want to see how things were.
Right.
So I would say build school culture would be one of the most important things to kind of make school cohesive to those students and faculty and staff.
Great. That's great. It's a great thought because, a lot of times for aspiring school leaders, they don't think about the importance of culture and kind of setting the atmosphere, for the students, the staff, and all the stakeholders that are involved in the school as well. Well, today you've shared quite a bit of wisdom with us, and I really appreciate your time. I'm so glad we were able to work it out for you to be on the podcast as well. So I just want to say, thank you because I know your heart for education. I know your heart for the kids and wanting them to do well. So I want you to keep doing the great work that you're doing. It is not unnoticed, and that's why I want to have you on the show to, put you on this platform so others could know about the work that you were doing as well. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Okay.
Well, I guess I'll have to say my little last parting
Yes. Yes,
words as
sir.
well. I would like to thank you as well. Thank you for assisting me with my book.
Yep.
Also, I do have another something in the making. I talked to you about it before in reference to administrators on how to break up fights and the culture
Yeah.
around that. I know it's a touchy subject, but if you will, if you have some time, I want to get with you later on so you can kind of help me kind of get that going. This is one of those touchy subjects. I already talked to security here, and it's one of those things. I got the framework. I just need to kind of help them with some details on it. But and
Okay. Well,
again, thank you for all the assistance that you've given me in the leadership and the tutelage, even from my educational time all the way to now. When I have some questions and everything as it relates to different little issues that I may run into, I call you and contact you. You're always gracious with your information, and if you don't have it, you go research and find it and bring it back to me. I'm always grateful to that. Chance, I appreciate you, man. I love you as a brother, and thank you for
no.
everything you're doing. You keep up the hard work too, sir.
All right, thank you, man. Well, I appreciate you so much, and like I said, I'm very proud of you. So just keep up the great work, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you now. Take
All
care.
right. You take care.
All right.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Bye bye.
All right.